Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special broadcast celebrating Black History Month. I'm your host, Sarah Mean, and today we embark on a journey through the triumphs, struggles, and enduring legacies of African Americans who have shaped our world. Black History Month is not just a time for reflection, but a celebration of resilience, courage, and the remarkable contributions made by African Americans throughout history. It's a time to honor those who have paved the way for social justice, equality, and progress.
Their bravery and determination remind us that change often begins with the courage of ordinary individuals.
Leaving an indelible mark on music, literature, dance, and beyond. From the soulful melodies of Aretha Franklin to the poetic genius of Langston Hughes, their artistic contributions continue to inspire and uplift generations. And let's not forget the pioneers who shattered barriers and blazed trails in fields such as science, technology, and medicine. Figures like Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African American woman to travel in space, and Dr. Charles Drew, whose groundbreaking research revolutionized blood transfusion and storage techniques. As we continue the conversation about Black History Month, we have a special guest with us today, Marlene Martin, who is the Director of Learning and Engagement at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Welcome, Marlene, to the live broadcast. Hi.
Hello.
So, as the Learning and Engagement Director, could you, Marlene, tell us our listeners a little bit about your role and what it entails at the Charles H. Wright Museum and what a typical day looks like for you?
As learning and engagement, the word learning means education. So it's education, historical, cultural, just everyday lifelong learning experiences. Engagement means community, means connection, conversations, dialogues, talks. So I work with the museum leadership to conceive and present programs related to those things. How we learn, how community learning, how we connect our community with the museum and what they learn to come in. I have a staff of 9 individuals who are the museum's public-facing educators, meaning they do our guided tours. So from school-age children right up to adults, we do tours for the time that the museum is open. Now we're Tuesday through Sunday from 9 to 5, and on Thursday we're to 7, and Thursday to 9. So typical day, it's never really a typical day. But mostly for the mornings, when I'm coming in and I check in with 2 of my managers who are managers of Management Youth and Family Programming, who really organizes the tour, and my manager of community engagement, and just to see if there are any changes in my schedule, any bumps in the day ahead, and make sure all of the educators are in place and ready to do their guided tours. There are always lots of meetings.
Oh, no.
Museum, the meeting of the mind. So really have to work more efficiently. So meeting with leadership, meeting with the community, meeting with other groups, also develop partnerships with other organizations. We have sometimes some exchange with other museums, like the American National Museum. So we will go to them, they'll come to us, conversations about the programming we're developing, and just share their experiences with what we do.
And that sounds very beautiful and very eventful, and very rewarding, especially. Can you specify any specific programs that you do for Black History Month, like educational events, things like that?
Mm. That's always a favorite question for
Yeah.
me because I will tell you that we celebrate Black History
What a surprise.
365 days of the year because that's what the museum is about.
Mhm.
So African American history. But as far as something significant, we do have some signature events.
Mhm.
I actually think we begin celebrating Black History Month from Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day, which is January 19th. We do that is one of the national federal national holidays, or a day of service, right?
Yeah.
So whether you're thinking about services in a congregational church or services in a service in a community, so we look at that day as a day of reflection, and we look back at the life of Dr. King. We have a breakfast, just a communal breakfast, and then we have some keynote speakers. We'll have a couple of reverends giving vocation speeches, and a keynote speaker, and then some educational programming. This past MLK Day, the affection, we were honored to have this young woman, Janelle Austin, who is the founder and executive director of George Floyd Global Memorial out of Minneapolis.
Oh,
And that was really such an incredible day to really have her speak about the founding of this memorial based on what happened in the murder of George Floyd, and really that global perspective of what George Floyd's murder meant, and over the past 3 years, because it did go global and people really connected back to the African American community. And I think for me, that symbolized also the work that Dr. King had been doing
Mhm.
in having a beloved community, and it was not just about Black history in America. It was just about history, right? And his the platform that he was on about really bringing us together to be unified, to be humane to each other, and to stand up for social and equal rights, justice. So I think that was just a great connection, and brought us kind of contemporary with what we're dealing with, the idea of Black Lives Matter. So that was just and she was just awesome in her delivery, and she also connected that to Dr. King's speech. I haven't read.
Mhm.
And we always, we talk about having the dream, but what is the fulfillment of the dream? What that vision means. And I think she was able to sum that up and bring us, I guess, a little bit more contemporary with what we're experiencing right now as African Americans, because that struggle is continuous. We're still fighting against so much violence in this country and in the world.
Mhm.
It's an unfortunate truth. You're so right about that.
Your story about Janelle, right?
Mhm.
That was great.
Yes.
It really did. It stuck with me because just your program giving young artists that opportunity is actually amazing. It's very inspiring to see and to know that your programs are there to give people the platform they need to express what they're passionate about. Is beautiful, like honestly. Now I understand that engagement with the community is a huge part of what you do. Just how does the Charles H. Wright Museum connect with the local community?
There's so many ways.
I bet.
We, like I said, we have specific programming, such as the Empathy Day. that day. We have 16 people in the museum.
Ooh.
Mhm.
What's the carrying capacity of the place?
Well, they're not there together, standing in the same room. The museum is a very large place, so we have some exhibitions.
Okay. That makes a bit more
We
sense
have
than what I was
200
picturing.
though in for the breakfast in the rotunda, which is where when you enter the museum,
Mhm.
that's a big group that you'll be in. And then we have the other floors where whether it's exhibitions or meeting spaces or just walk through. But families were there. They were very engaged in things like scavenger hunt. I'm sorry, scavenger hunt, which is we give them some questions. They would go through the museum. They would find the answers to those questions or locate the artifacts, and then they would get prize at the end of it. So there were different sessions with that. So maybe an hour with one group, and then another hour. So that was really beautiful. And for the first time, we introduced a virtual reality engagement.
Oh.
We used some Oculus Rift to have people get an immersive experience of what it was like during the time of Dr. King's civil rights movement. So it was called Now's the Time to Download. And so you would go into this popularity and it would kind of help you to go through whether it was the red lining district or whatever the Jim Crow or law was at the time. So I know that everybody that I didn't get to experience it, but everyone that did was really awesome, awed by it, especially young people, because it's new technology. That's something now that we are kind of ahead of with a lot of museums or technology. I think our core exhibition and Still We Rise is one of the most immersive experiences that you will find at a museum, because there are not just the artifacts to look at, but also we create these communities and environments that people sojourn. Harriet Tubman comes to life when you walk through and you hear her voice. And we just opened up a new exhibition for one of our beloved Detroit judges, Judge Damien Keith. It's honoring the legacy of Judge Damien J. Keith. Yesterday.
That's recent.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a United States circuit judge, and also a former United States district judge. Detroit loved him. He was one of those individuals who represented the African American community with his prolific work in cases where he took action to make sure that people receive the justice that they deserve, because people in different points. So he is also a mentor of many clergy in Detroit and throughout the nation. So we were honored to actually he was a part of our exhibition already, but we actually renovated a whole new space, which is also now a little more technological advanced than some parts of the exhibition. So it's more interactive, so you could go back with him when he started to, his journey through 2020. So we're really proud of that. And what was your question? Okay, so that's the community engagement. So at the museum, um, have adapted these strategic goals that we define. Our mission actually is opening minds and changing and transforming lives.
Ooh.
So when we think about the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, we will have one of the largest American histories in the country, not the world. This museum was established by Dr. Charles H. Wright, who was a gynecologist and a obstetrician, and who's been noted for delivering about 7,000 children.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
community that alone.
Mhm.
And that legacy of family and belonging with citizenship remains with us really very strong. So the work that we're doing is centered on Detroit so that we can place Detroit on the national agenda, or that Detroit is placed on the national agenda when it comes to history, when it comes to culture, when it comes to a place, right? Because this city is like really significant in its contribution to the civil rights movement, to the music revolution, to the industrial revolution. So we make sure that we are living that legacy at the right. So community engagement is in various forms. While we focus on the African American experience, we have go back history on this kind of all the time. However, we will do this the month with book talk
Ooh.
and celebration from Abraham Kennedy, who actually adapted Zora Neale Hurston's work, Barracoon. Now, Zora Neale had, this was one of her last publications. She was able to capture the story of Cudgel Lewis, as was told by himself. And this was what referred to as the last cargo. So this was the last slave that was brought to the Americas. And she was able to capture his story through an interview. And Abraham Kennedy has adapted the story so that young readers can really read it. Because the way that it was written, it's in such heavy dialect that sometimes it can be hard.
Yeah.
But it did tell this story. So that was a conversation between Kennedy and our president, Neil A. Barkley, President CEO. And then last week we also had a conversation with Benjamin Crump, who is the attorney that has been at the forefront of all the state advocates for violence against Black veterans, like George Floyd.
Yeah.
So, and then, so we're always like trying to find like the national perspective, but then we're also looking for the local perspective, the local historians, like just
That was beautifully said, Marlene. Thank you for sharing. At this point, we're going to take a short commercial break. For now, we're leaving you with one of the hottest hits here at the Nest. This is Truth or Dare by Tyla.
Can't hear me, right?
Welcome back to the Nest radio station. I'm your host, Sarah Mean. Today we have Marlene Martin, the Director of Learning and Engagement at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Director Martin is here to share her insights on Black History Month. Marlene, through firsthand accounts and interviews, how does the museum bring to light the personal stories of community members, creating more profound connection to our shared history as it relates to Black History Month?
I think some of that I spoke about previously, especially as part of our exhibition highlights honoring the life and legacy of Judge Jimmy Peak. I think right now we're just really proud of that as we opened that yesterday, because he was totally. But I think when you coming to the museum and you engage in our exhibition tour, you will actually see the community. You will actually like hear their voices. So it's not just Judge William Keith. There's also Coleman Young, who was the mayor for one of the beloved mayors of Detroit, and those stories are being told. Because, of course, Dr. Charles Wright, who's the founder, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, he's delivered
7,000 was it? Yeah.
There's also Dr. Ben Carson. There's Catherine Blackwell. There are many stories that, in whether it's politics, it's medicine, it's community work, that or the arts that we honor in terms of our community. But then that's one community we're talking about, maybe a local community, and we won't talk about it, look at the global community, that it is, we just honor the work of African Americans and their contribution. We talk about Black History Month, which was really founded as a Negro Week by Carter G. Woodson in 1926. So we're coming up to maybe enough 100 years celebration of that. Nobody really thinks about that, right? And the reason why Carter G. Woodson created this holiday was because during his time of education, he did not really think about the contributions of African Americans, of his people, but he knew that they had contributions contributed to their society. So he did his own research and started to develop his own field of study. Dr. Woodson was one of the educators who was the second person to graduate with a doctorate degree from Ivy League School. I believe it was Harvard. The other one was W.E.B. Du Bois. But Dr. Carnegie Woodson couldn't find a job. No university would hire him. So he created his own center for Negro life and history. And that's how this holiday began. We started as a week celebration and then grew into the month. But still at the same time, even that week was short or put on the back burner along the national agenda became president. So that same week. So and then of course, February is the shortest month in the year. So it's never seems to be enough time.
Yeah.
I always just say that at the Wright we celebrate history, Black History Month, 365 days a week. So in each of the months, we just try to highlight different people. So it's not necessarily like one signature event or just many things that we do. We just incorporate things and integrate them into our program. So there's next month is Women's History Month, so we'll be having the poet Mickey Giovanni will be visiting for a conversation. We'll be showing a film that she's a documentary on her, and so we just like every month we find something to do to celebrate and just to uplift and to highlight, the work that we're doing. Black history is at the point where it needs to be erased. There are schools and a board of education that don't want to continue or taking that part of their curriculum out of their educational system. So we just gonna have to
Take matters to your own.
and just find it, and that's why it's important. We're talking about technology, why it's important that we have technology too, into our education life, because people just don't go on it's boring, it's the same old thing every time. We have to change it, and our history is always changing, and people are always evolving. So we just try to keep updated and keep things.
So, Marlene, with the 100-year celebration of Black History, what started as a week coming up, what plans does the Charles H. Wright Museum have for the celebration? If you don't mind sharing with us, or what do you want to see? I know it might be like top secret, but
No, that's enough. Actually, that will be in 2026.
yeah. So like 2 years.
In 2 years. So
I'm celebrating
Yeah,
that.
start planning from now. What would you like to see?
Block party.
Well, we do have the African World Festival that happens every year at Hart Plaza. That I think actually this year that's coming up, where 2025 will be our 60th year anniversary. So we have a lot of celebrations that are coming up, and we're always planning something that's larger than life sometimes. But what I would like to see is I am still just looking at how the museum continues to lead and to build its community, and of course to highlight like just more people, bringing in exhibitions that really look at our incredible resilience, and or incredible achievements. You can't ask for anything more than that, because it's just part of our expression. I just want it to be authentic. I want it to come from us. I want it to be, our story. I want it to be national. I want it to, whatever it is,
Big.
Be big.
Yeah.
I want people to like honor the culture, and to embrace the history.
Yeah.
I could say I want a party or
Yeah.
something. I think whatever we do is gonna be grand. Both our president and CEO, he always goes and sees the most amazing things and want to bring it back to the museum. So I'm sure that we will have something almost better than World's Fair to us.
Well, I have full faith in whatever you plan to do. It's super clear from your explanation just now that you do a great job at the museum showcasing the long and rich history of Black history. Can you tell us a little bit more about the process of selecting and showcasing exhibitions, and especially with a unique lens for this storytelling aspect of African American history?
Yeah, okay. So I think we talked a little bit about the lens more in the form of the voice.
Yeah.
Right? So the first voice. So the first voice is coming from the African American perspective, right? And then the other first voice is being this iconic institution in this city and what that means, the significance of that, right? So when we think about curating a show, of course, we'll bring things in from maybe from the national, some traveling show, but we also build our own exhibition based on that. So we did the two exhibitions that come to mind. We did a photography exhibition on jazz, classical jazz artists, right?
Mhm.
But then we developed a whole other exhibition on Detroit jazz. And it's not classical jazz. They out of the park because it was beautiful, it was vibrant, it was about Detroit jazz artists, and that's the selection line, right? Also, we did a museum exhibition that came to us. It's Sanctuary, which is based on the Green Book, which is what was part of Jim Crow, where African American artists couldn't travel, or people really were afraid of traveling. But someone, Hugo came up with a book. He was postmaster, so he came up with a book that was especially written for the artists and travelers, where they could go, with hotels, with restaurants they could eat in, right? So with that sanctuary, we developed one that was based on the Green Book of Michigan, because a lot of these places were here in Michigan, right? And that's one of the things I think about Detroit and the community here, is that you can find a faith base somewhere, or you could find the support that you need with that. So we're always thinking about centering Detroit as part of the national agenda. With the dialogue we're having, or the exhibition that we're doing. And I think the other thing is it's like being authentic with our expression, right? It's just one of the lens that kind of the one that shape what we want to do is telling our stories and being authentic. It's our expression, it's our story. And so, hey, how do we build that? So that's, for me, like the best way in which I think our exhibition like tops so many others.
I love your
right?
pride.
Yeah, I do have pride. But I would say our president, he does go out and he travels a lot, so he sees these things and invited to, different conferences and meeting settings. So right now we actually have this exhibition that's about to close called Ruth E. Carter, Afrofuturism in Costume Design. So Ruth Carter is the two-time Academy Award winner for costume design for Black Panther and Wakanda.
Ooh.
So we have, and then we have the costume there from these films, as well as Do the Right Thing by Lee, Selma from Dr. King's time, Roots. I don't know if you guys have heard of any of these phenomenal movies, Malcolm X.
Yeah.
They're there. These costumes are there in two of our exhibition spaces. And the end of March. So
We still have time.
we still have time. So that visit, make sure you have come in and check it out. And then we did all these 2 other exhibitions last month, and it's so much. We have a 2 photography exhibitions. One is the Audacity to Thrive, which is Adrian Wright interpretation of Black joy and resistance, right? It kind of showcases Black people in out street festivals, just never pride, no matter what, how persecuted you're being, they still can laugh and hug. And then John Dowell Paths to Freedom, which is an older photographer, but his work is focused on cotton. And I think he said that he had this dream from his grandmother about this cotton field, and he went and started photographing and kept on going back and kept on going back. It's really beautiful at different points of life. It's like if you've seen cotton, how you see cotton in a different light, seen it at night, and it gives you a different kind of light, see it with his interpretation of it can be ghost-like, and cotton was one of the things that was a big part of our enslavement, So it's those kinds of things that I think that we do well when we are talking about it for ourselves, what we dream about, how we interpret that, what we've heard, what stories we've been told, what lessons we've learned. Those are the way that our curatorial insights come into play.
So, Marlene, you said you focus on an exhibit or an influential figure every month, correct?
Is that an oversimplification?
Yeah. I don't know if one every month, but
is it more like a theme?
Sometimes it depends. I just try to I try to interpret kind of what's going on in the world.
Okay. Relevant.
I was about to ask you. You just answered my question. I was going to ask, how do you select what you focus on for that month?
Right.
It makes sense for you to focus on what's going on around the world.
Yeah, definitely what's going on around the world. And then, like I was saying previously, you might look at Women's History Month, so then we'll look at a poet, a woman, we'll talk about her health or strength, that kind of stuff. We'll have maybe Ruth Carter will be coming back to close out our exhibition. We'll talk about the history of fashion, which really, also relates to us as women.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in April was also Earth Month, but it's also music, Black Music Month, Appreciation Month. It's also Earth Month. Poetry, right? So we can look at that. I'm right now looking at maybe doing a tribute to a group called Sweet Honey in the Rock, which is an a cappella group that did these freedom songs. So I just find these little things. I look to see what's relevant, how old some things are. Does it need to be revised? Do we need to talk about that again? And how do we talk about it again when we talk about it again? Because we always have to repeat ourselves, so we get hurt, right? So we look at different things, but again, I think it's more of our living and shared experiences and what's relevant, right?
Yeah.
There's always the national agenda, that you have to watch out for. So we need to talk about both matters soon, right?
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do then, right? So we do have an exhibition that's called Voting Matters. I don't know if we'll go back to that, but we'll be doing something related to it. So it's always it's always, we try to maintain something thematic, but it's more about how we meet about how we live or
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's beautifully said.
I think I can speak for all of us, but the more you talk about the museum, the more I want to visit it.
Yeah, you can feel your passion.
It feels like I've been there already, even though I haven't now.
like from the Oculus, I think was the coolest one. I
You're
still can't
stuck
get
on
over it.
that?
I can't get over it. Is it the actual like Black Panther costume that Chadwick Boseman wore?
No way.
So cool.
So
Yeah, actually,
cool.
I want to go. We're gonna go.
We're gonna go.
You don't get to try them, but you do get to look
In
at
the
it.
same room as it? Yeah.
Same room or
Yeah.
as it, yeah.
I guess I'll take that word.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful exhibition. When you think about it like that, you know, you don't get to try the thing, but when you get in the room with it, it just becomes like so magical. You feel the spirit and the energy from the garment,
Mhm.
and then just hearing the stories behind them and how she developed them. And that's she'll talk about technology in that too.
All right.
So that's really
Do you have a favorite? If you can say, do you have a favorite exhibition?
We know yours. It's our name's is the Oculus, exactly.
Well, I still can't get over it. So cool.
it's hard to have a favorite exhibition, but I really dug the Detroit Gym.
Yeah.
Seems so
Yeah,
cool.
I just went in a lot in there. You know, the music was kind of loud, but it was okay because you know I don't really do tours myself or meet
Mhm.
friends. But I would just like take a break and I'd just go in and sit down. You know, just kind of
Mhm.
release whatever. But it was one of my favorite. And I like jazz. So. But the core exhibition, it's the most amazing exhibition because it just takes you on this journey, and there are like maybe 26 galleries or something throughout that journey, and each of them has its its own story, and kind of just
Yeah.
grabs you,
We get
right?
it.
Yeah, it really, you feel it, but it also it can take a toll. This, our stories, the word resilience sounds so beautiful, but it's really more of a tragedy.
Yeah.
A tragedy and the triumphs. So sometimes I get impacted by that, and so that was and I love the Ruth Carter exhibition because I've seen all the movies and been there. So I really love that, and I do love the idea of Afrofuturism, and I think that is a great thing for us right now at the Wright. We really look at some of the things that has happened in the recent past, right? And how we are going to position ourselves in the immediate future, right? I think even asking about the celebration of the 100th celebration of Black History, Black History Month, and also our 65th anniversary, or 50th anniversary. Those are the things that for me are immediate. And how do we compose them to making sure that we're taking and sending the right message in the future. I think a lot of what we do is based on our magic, our spirit, our ancestors, and that's what's going to lead us into the future. I think people learn from us, even though they may not say that they do. But I think that Black people have such an important position in the future. And I hope that I'm part of that leadership that's going to do it.
Just hearing you talk about how much you love this museum and all of its exhibits, I'm sure that you will be. Like, there's no way this isn't you paving the way for that wonderful future.
Marlene, I've been wondering, how long have you been the director?
I've only been there 16, 17 months.
Oh wow! And you're already speaking this beautifully of it. I love that.
But it is my history. It's a part of my culture, and I've been living that without working at the museum. The museum has been working at me. I think I'm a part of the living history. I'm a part of the living museum. So the time that I'm there now, it's irrelevant. It's what is most irrelevant is what I do.
Beautifully said.
So Marlene, are there any final thoughts or discussion points that you wanted to touch on about Black History Month and the Charles H. Wright Museum before we end off today?
I would just encourage each and every one of you that's listening to take the time out to visit the museum.
Yes.
We have a second Sunday that's free to the public, and you can come and see all of the exhibitions on second Sunday of the month, right?
Okay.
So I put that out there so that you should not, your visit should not depend on whether you have $15 or $30 or whatever it costs to get in. Your visit should be based on you want to learn, you want to be a part of a learning institution, you want to be a part of a cultural repository, and you just want to be a part of something that's great and magnificent. And I know that you love just walking in the building alone in that we call it the rotunda, in that global space. Just that alone, you feel good, right? So there's a spiritual thing. So come and experience that. Charles Wright Museum of African American History.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Marlene, for joining us today and offering to talk about the importance of Black History Month and the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. This concludes today's live broadcast. Tune in next time for more enlightening discussions on the Nest radio station. Until then, stay curious and be sure to check out the Charles H. Wright Museum. And we're all good.
HES Academies have been serving the Detroit metro area for over 23 years, promoting academic excellence, leadership, and cultural diversity, ranking as some of the top schools in the state of Michigan. Our pre-K through 12th grade students enjoy tuition-free, state-accredited education by STEM-certified and highly qualified staff with no geographical restrictions, and with advanced placement, college dual enrollment, scholarship, and Arabic language programs. Noor International Academy in Sterling Heights at niapsa.org, Star International Academy in Dearborn Heights and in Canton at starpsa.org, Universal Academy in Detroit at universalpsa.org, and Universal Learning Academy in Westland at ulapsa.org. Join HES Academies today and enjoy a free Chromebook for every enrolled student.